that's just a typical piece of chert. This is called Burlington chert. All the different chert and flints are named after the particular limestone bed they occur in. You don't find much of this around here except as residuum, as little bitty chunks of it that are broken up and everything. If you get around Springfield, that's the predominant one, and it's a really good one to work. What you find around here mostly is Jeff City chert, and it's real colorful and real banded, but you don't get big, nice, beautiful chunks with it as much. It can look like that. See all those bands and stuff like that. But it's a lot more broken up and a lot more weathered here, so it's hard to find the bigger pieces that you would make an arrowhead.
You grab this one.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And this
It's out.
is not the best situation. There's a lot of round on it. You're looking for about a 45-degree angle to start with to create a what they call a striking platform.
What about these two? These two are real common down by the water.
Yep, that's Jeff City chert.
That one's Jeff City?
Yep. And
that
that
one too?
Yeah, that's about as good as you get around here.
She's got a giant one.
Is this
too.
flint?
Yeah, that is actually, that's pulled, you found that over
Yep.
there? That is called Swan Creek, and it's a variant of the stuff you find up around here.
Okay.
It's still banded. It's really hard. It's hard to work. It works better if you heat treat it.
So is this one the same thing as that then?
Pretty much.
And it,
Yeah.
Because I tried starting flint and steel off of it, and it was pretty hard.
Yeah. Oh, any of it works for flint and steel if you got a good edge. Some of it's softer than others. The softer stuff doesn't work quite as well.
So where do you get the best working type flint in Missouri, would you say?
Probably that Burlington around Springfield is good. Up around St. Louis, they have some stuff called Crescent, and it's a variant of Burlington, but it's really beautiful. One of my other buckets, I have a big chunk of that stuff, and it's really pretty. It's colorful. It's all workable.
Where's the best place to find it? Creek beds or on the side of the road where they
sometimes
drilled through?
Well, the thing about rock cuts through highways,
Yeah.
anytime they blast, that blast sends a shock wave through, well, I had some big nodules up there. You can't see it because the doors are, but you'll find these big round nodules, and sometimes if it's not been blasted, they'll be solid flint on the inside, not completely solid, but just really big chunks. And I'll bring some of those bigger chunks over in a minute and show you just kind of what you're dealing with, so you can get really big chunks of it. That blast wave fractures it up, so it looks like it's solid, and you hit on it and you can tell it's kind of loose in there, and it'll just break up into little blocks. So road cuts are not the best.
Okay.
You can find little chunks, but
Yeah.
nothing big. If you can find an area where they bulldozed and then covered layers of it around Springfield, you find big chunks of Burlington where they've done that with road graders when they're putting in a building or a roadway or something like that. And around St. Louis, there's a lot of good flint around there. But like I said, creek beds are the first place I go to. Sometimes lake shores, if there's a natural lake, it'll bleed out and be covered around all on the lake shores if it's up against a vein of it. A lot of times I work off my leg, and you want something really big and thick for padding on there like this. You can do it freehand. Always wear eye protection when you're doing this kind of stuff, because the flakes can fly off, and if they get in your eye, there's probably a lot of old one-eyed flint nappers around wearing the protection. So basically what I'm doing is, you want to go to my glove box, there should be a marker.
Yep.
But I'm looking for a spot that has about a 45-degree angle and a piece that I could knock off of that to be able to create sharp edges. Because the whole idea is hitting this at the right angle to be able to create sharp blades, little sharp blades. And it's like, have you ever seen where somebody shot a BB gun into a plate glass window? You ever seen that, where the BB just bounces off, but it pops this perfect cone out the other side? That's the fracture plane you're working with. That's called a Hertzian cone. And it's roughly 130 degrees, and it can vary a little bit. It's not a static number that it does that, but it's roughly 130 degree, three-dimensional cone of shock wave. So if you hit this stone right solid there with a really hard object, it puts out a shock wave that goes through the rock in a cone shape. And sometimes if you hit a bunch of times against a rock like that and then break into that where you've been hitting it on a big flat surface like that, you'll see those little cones form up. So basically what you're doing is using that same cone, but you're hitting it on the edge. So imagine that's the cone, and it's a three-dimensional cone. If you come straight down and hit it at the top of that cone, it's going to spread out like that, the shock wave. So you're hitting it on the edge so that this part of the rock is parallel to the side of that cone. So it's just taking a little slice off the edge, the outer edge of that cone. You understand? You're kind of getting that? So I'll hit out close to the edge like that, because there's nothing over here. That cone is, it's wasted over here, but it's cleaving through the stone at the edge of the outer edge of that cone, and you'll even see the cone shape of the part that comes off. And I'll go ahead and knock that off and just give you an idea. So I'll line that up to where that's the cone, and I'll come straight down on that. Now, I'll leave it together. See, I come straight down on that. And there, that's the slice. You can see the little round. I don't know if everybody can see that. It's kind of rounded. That's because that cone would have been a three-dimensional cone had there been material out here, but there's not enough, and the energy of that shock wave took it all the way through the stone. And that's the process. That's basically the process. Now I've got this triangular, and it really wants to follow ridges like that. So if you find a ridge like that, you can take that ridge off. Feel the edges on that. That is, you could open up a deer with that thing right there.
Oh yeah,
well,
that's
now
very sharp.
I've got a face that I can do a series of those
sure
blades
could.
off. But I've got this little, because of that cone shape, see how it dipped in and made kind of a bell shape? Well, it dipped in here, so I've got an overhang. So you need at least a straight shot from this face here to here, because if I hit it here, it's going to want to follow that original line, and that will take it into the center of the rock, which it'll just run out of energy or it'll break the rock in half. So to get rid of that, I just slightly abrade away, or I can come over here and use that ridge and knock a flake off of there and maybe have a nice little usable flake there. So I'll try that. And what I do is when I line that up, I make sure my cone is in the proper position where I can just come down on it like that. I'm using my wrist, so it's speed and force. I'm not really hammering it in there as much as kind of slinging it. But I'll make sure I know where that's going to contact. I'll look on the rock and find a little protuberance or something where I know it's going to make contact where I want it to.
All the real force is being absorbed by that rock that is hitting.
So I'm going to shoot for a point about right there. And that's lining up with that ridge. So I'm going to have to hold it at a little bit of an angle and look down that ridge to make sure my force is going that direction. And if I hit it somewhere up and around in there, it should take a flake out, something like that. And it might run out of energy and dive out here, or if I hit it at the wrong angle, it might take and come a big chunk of that. We'll see what happens. But I'll put that little position right on the rock where I can see that it's going to make contact where I think it's supposed to. I hit it above where I meant to, and I changed the angle. Whenever I did that, I rocked it back, so that made it go more into there. So instead of a nice little thin flake, I got this big honking chunk there. But anyway, again, that edge is sharper than a razor. Now, I've still got that little undercut thing, and I'm going to show you how to just abrade and work a little bit to remove that undercut. See, I'm not really trying to knock big flakes off, I'm just trying to remove that little bit of So you want, if you're trying to knock that face off, you want that to at least be in line or even curved up a little bit more. So you can knock a few of those, and this has a fracture. See that internal fracture right there? So that's going to stop that flake right there probably. So I'm going to come over here and try to knock one off the edge. A lot of times you can even take a sandstone or a piece of a braiding stone like this and toughen that edge up. You know, if I was wanting to make a series of blades off of this, I would come back over here to the corner, start there. A little smaller rock this time. Always match your rock to this. You don't want your big honking rock. This is actually too much rock for this piece. So you want it about a third the size of the rock you're beating on for most stuff, unless you're really wanting to knock a giant flake off. So I got that little thick thing. Now I'm going to just do a series. Get rid of that lip again. Now we're getting into the blades.
What type of rock is that that you're using as your...
Limestone. Get rid of that sharp edge and create a platform. What I'm using is a copper flaker. You think, well, that's not primitive. Anywhere they had access to copper in their trade routes, like Cahokia Mounds, they found flakers with copper on it. If you don't have that, that was the traditional tool, the antler tine, the tip end of it. You can even do it with another rock. There's certain types of hardwoods you can fire harden the hardwood and do it with. So, if anything, it's got to have a hard, you know, kind of a sharpish, not really sharp, but a point about like that. And
This is called pressure napping?
pressure flaking.
Flaking, pressure flaking.
And all I'm doing is getting rid of that sharp edge.
What's that black piece?
That's just a piece of rubber to protect my hand. Like I said, I'd be using wadded up
Yeah.
leather if I didn't have that. All I'm doing right now is just, like I said, cleaning up that edge a little bit, and I'm going to braid it a little bit to give me a solid platform to push against to build up enough pressure to make a flake detach. You see guys flint napping, you'll hear a whole lot of that. I'll do just a little series on this side here just to show you. This takes more hand strength than I have. I mean, it takes literally all the strength you have in your upper body. So I do it a different way to incorporate my legs into it. Your legs are way bigger muscles. It's more efficient to do that. So I'll anchor against here, and even pivot off of my belly to use that as a fulcrum. And so with all those, I can get a lot more strength than if I'm up here just in the air trying to do it with all my arms. Do 2 or 3, see what it looks like.
This is trying to put serrated edge on it now?
No, I'm just... Now, you see that traditional flake pattern now that you see on any arrowhead.
So you're just building the shape.
Yeah.
Just shaping it
Yeah,
in
so I'm just
little by
shaping it and thinning it right now.
Making it sharper.
little. Do you flip both
You
sides?
bet.
Work?
It's just like this, the other thing on